Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Couch Chat Podcast. This is your host, Alexandria Rivers, and tonight I will be speaking on part two of the Mother's Day edition, Coming from a Mother Without Children. Before we get started, I do want to lead with prayer because without Him, I am nothing. Father, in the name of Jesus, I come to you the best way I know how. I'm asking you to allow my words to flow naturally, to put you first in all things, and to give you thanks. Allow my words to help others, those who are not transparent at the moment, those who are not ready to speak out about their issue just yet. I'm asking that you give us all healing, deliverance, and remember that we can do all things through Christ, which strengthens you. These and other blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. So I wanted to do a part two of the Mother's Day edition to close out the month of May. As you have heard in my first podcast, I have lost three children. It has been devastating over the years, but all I can say is nobody but God. He is the only one that has gotten me to this point where I currently am. He is the only one that has given me the strength to speak on this now. If someone would have asked me a year ago to speak on my situation, I would have definitely said no without hesitation. But now I feel that I am ready, I am able, and I pray that you all get something out of it. Whether you decide to judge me or look at me sideways, I could care less. Because one thing I have learned in my 44 years of life is that we all have skeletons. We all have a past and we all have a background. It's how you move forward that really counts. So let's get started. So, when I was a teenager, going to high school, I was raised in church. Actually, let me start over. I've been going to church since I was 6 years old. And if you don't know, being raised in the church, you are forced to fit in with the outside world, especially if you are going to public school. So I started talking to a guy that also went to the same church as I did. Um, just talking on the side. My parents didn't know. They didn't find out till later on. But yeah, we started talking, and I won't say that he pressured me into having sex with him, but when you want to be liked by someone, you would do things that you never thought that you would do. So the first time that we had intercourse, I got pregnant. I did not know I was pregnant until maybe a month or so later when I went to use the bathroom and the baby came out in the toilet. I didn't know how to feel. I was young, I was clueless, nobody knew. I just didn't know what to do but go on with my life. So time passed. I graduated from high school, went to college, lived my life. Didn't really have a serious relationship after that. I was just having fun, like most of us do at young ages. I met another guy, like in my mid to late 20s, just hanging out. Met him through another crowd. When I was running the streets, and I jumped off the porch late. Reminding you that I was raised in church, so a lot of things I didn't do, a lot of places I did not go. So when I got out on my own, I experienced things at a later age versus others who might have did things at a younger age. So I'm dealing with this guy. It's a fling thing. The first, I think it was the first time that we did something, got pregnant by him. I was cramping. I mean, I didn't know. I didn't, when I was out there in the world doing my own thing, living my own life, pregnancy was the last thing on my mind. I mean, I've always wanted children, but I was young. I was just thinking about having a good time. So I was drinking alcohol, I was smoking marijuana, smoking cigarettes. I didn't know I was pregnant that second time. If I had known that, I would have never done those things. So, yeah, found out I was pregnant. I lost that baby. I miscarried it. So at this point in my mid to late 20s, I've lost two children. Moving on with my life, time passed, I get older. When I was 32 years old, my father passed in 2016. I moved to Atlanta. I'm sorry, my dad passed in 2014. I moved to Atlanta in 2016. When I first got to Atlanta, I was focused on rebuilding my life, wanting to leave the past behind, even though we know our past will always be a part of our lives. You don't try to think about it. You want to leave it behind and move forward. And I did well with that. Got my first apartment, and I was doing well until I started dealing with one of the neighbors that lived over there. One of the biggest mistakes of my life, because if I would have known that he was in a relationship with someone, I would have never dealt with him. But I have noticed that, people aren't always upfront about who they're with or if they have something going on. I found out later than sooner. Anyway, so me and this guy were dealing with each other, and he would come over because he lived in the next building. So, it was easy access. So one day I was coming from the store and I started feeling nauseous, and it's hot outside, it's warm. I'm just thinking that I'm hungry and I need something to eat. And once I go home, I started having very, very bad pelvic pain. Very, very bad. It was so bad that I had to contact the ambulance. And thank God for my neighbor, she was there with me. So the ambulance come picks me up and the EMT asks me, "Is there a possibility you could be pregnant?" I said, "Oh no." I mean, because keep in mind, around that time, I'm like 35 years old. At that point, honestly, I didn't think I could have children at that age. So I'm getting rushed to the hospital, and, they make me a priority because it was very, very serious in their eyes. So my x-rays and exams come back, and the doctor tell me, "Well, Mrs. Rivers, did you know that you were pregnant?" I said, "What did you say?" He said, "You're pregnant." And I tried to make him repeat it again, and he said, "I'm not going to tell you anymore. You're pregnant." And I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Oh, yeah, you're like 6 weeks." So he's talking to me, and I'm listening, but my mind is elsewhere because at that point, my entire life has changed. I'm about to be a mother. So I thought I have to, alternate things and adjust my life and all of that. So the doctor leaves out, and I call the child's, I can't say father because he it never gave that. I called him and told him that I am at the hospital. I had to be rushed in. I wanted to let you know what's going on. And when I asked him where he was and I need him to come to the hospital, his reply was, "Oh, I'm in Conyers getting my car detailed." And Conyers is a city in Atlanta. And that was one of the most hurtful things that someone could ever say to someone. I'm calling you to let you know that I'm pregnant with your child and you're that selfish. So I said, okay, and I hung up the phone. So the doctor, he comes back into my room and he tells me, Mrs. Rivers, we have bad news. Um, the fetus, the baby is in one of my tubes. It was on the left side, left tube, and we have to remove it. If we don't do that, you could possibly die. It's a strong possibility. So I was like, what? I mean, you just told me I was pregnant. I have already mentally made adjustments for my life on how I need to handle things, how I need to approach the future. And now you're telling me that my baby is dead in my tube and you have to remove that because I could, it's a strong possibility that I would die. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And keep in mind, I'm sitting there in pain. I'm miserable. Because of this, it was just something that had to be done. So the nurses and the doctors, they're both trying to convince me, Mrs. Rivers, you need to do this. This is life or death. We need to take you into emergency surgery right now. So I said, no, I don't want to do it. I want to try to make it work, have the baby. Me being stubborn as always. So I go home and still in pain, still confused, still upset, still angry, just so many emotions coming out. From one being told you're going to be a mother to minutes later to, oh, the baby is dead inside of the fetus. We have to remove it and your tube or you could die. It's just a flood of emotions. So the next day, the next night, I was in such excruciating pain that I had to call the ambulance back. I had to. And I knew that it was something that had to be done, whether I liked it or not. So I called my mom, let her know what was going on. God bless her soul because she got on the first thing smoking and she headed to Atlanta to be with her daughter. I thank God for that all the time. There is nothing like a praying mother. So yeah, she comes up there and they rushing me to surgery and again so many emotions going on. So they did what they had to do. Um I'm in recovery. They're telling me, they had to remove the left tube because I had an ectopic pregnancy. Um yeah. So the nurse tell me, they're counseling me and saying, there's still a possibility you can get pregnant. We've seen many testimonies, plenty of women that have given birth with one tube. So at that point, I'm kind of optimistic, like, okay, Lord, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I will be more careful. I won't just deal with anyone. I want to do this right. So June of 2023, I started having like very bad pelvic pain and bleeding. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork, I would bleed, I would have pelvic pain, and then I would have to call in to work every 2 weeks, like clockwork. It was so bad to the point where I would have to literally just lay in the bed all day. My legs would ache. I would be physically drained. I lost so much blood. I was just and me thinking that I'm older. At this point I'm in my early 40s. I'm thinking this is normal. Maybe this is menopause I'm going through. I didn't know what was going on. So last year around March, I finally decide to go to the doctor to see what is going on. Because at this point, it's almost 2 years. I'm having this heavy bleeding and pelvic pain. Like, how long is this supposed to go on? That's when I found out I had fibroids. And that was very, very miserable. So I'm talking to the doctors and I'm looking online for options. I said, okay, what do I need to do to remove the fibroids? So I don't know. The doctors told me, they just can't remove the fibroid. I might have to get another surgery done. So when I started looking at alternatives, I looked up a myomectomy. And basically, it's a surgical procedure to remove the uterine fibroids while preserving the uterus and the fertility. Meaning that if that procedure was performed on me, I would still have my uterus and I would be able to have children. But surprised me that the hospital that was doing the surgery did not offer that alternative. The only thing I had that I was able to do was a full hysterectomy. So they had to remove the uterus, they removed everything. Yeah, they had to take out everything. And I thought that the situation that I was in 2018, when I had the tube removed due to the ectopic pregnancy, was hard. But hearing, knowing, and feeling that I had to have a full hysterectomy, that really just that broke me down. That did, because that was the nail in the coffin. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was confirmation that I would not be able to ever have my children naturally. And that's one of the reasons why I get so upset when I see ads and news clips about people that have intentionally harmed their children, people that have intentionally killed their children, children that are being abused, that are being trafficked. It's not right. And I'm speaking for everyone that feels the same way. If you are a parent and you don't want your child or your children, please give them to people who do. Give them to an adoption agency, give them to a trustworthy foster home, give them to a church. Pray over them and pray that it's people that you can trust, because children don't ask to be here. And it is downright low down and dirty to do children that way when they did not ask to be here. And I hope I am encouraging someone. This is the raw, unedited, real truth on why I don't have children. Because I always have people, ask me, you must didn't want children. I mean, you don't like children? I've had people to ask me that. And little do they know, I love children. I adore them. But God saw otherwise. And I tried to be angry with God. I did, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't. I don't know. I don't know. I tried, but I just couldn't. Because he's been so good to me in the past. He's never left me or forsaken me. And I'm just trying to see the good out of all of this. And I am looking into adoption options, in the near future, if it's his will as well. So, yeah, after having two miscarriages, um, an ectopic pregnancy, and a hysterectomy, yeah, I've been through a lot. I have. Um, I'm not doing this podcast episode for attention. I'm not doing it as clout, a money grabber. I'm not doing it to be seen. I am doing it to be heard, because I know there are people out there that has gone through similar things or the same thing. And if you're not ready to tell your story right now, that's okay. I get it. I will speak for you, because it took me a long time to speak on this. I mean, there were people that knew bits and pieces, but as far as the hysterectomy that I had April the 3rd of 2025, only a very limited amount of people knew that information. Um, it was embarrassing, honestly, to be my age. And, my thoughts were, no man is not going to want a woman that can't give him children. But that's not even my thought process anymore. I don't care. And if you're a man and you hear this and you look at me differently, I don't care. I know my worth. I know my value. I know what I'm capable of. I know that I'm a good woman, a good, successful woman. And that surgery last year actually brought me closer to God, like, brought me closer to myself, my well being, my being, period. Like, I've learned so much about myself, my creative side, um, my emotional side. Because when you get by yourself for a moment, you're able to hear your thoughts. You're able to actually see yourself without distractions. So, in a way, I'm kind of grateful for everything. A lot of things I don't understand, but I'm still here today, so I can't really complain. So now you all know the reason why I am a mother without children. I pray that I have encouraged someone. I pray that I have inspired someone. And don't give up. Stay encouraged. It may feel like, this is the end, because that's the way I felt. After my hysterectomy last year, I was like, you know what? I don't even have a reason to be on this earth. I don't even know why I'm here. Like, if I can't have children and grow with them and watch them grow up and watch them graduate and get married and have children and so forth, I really just didn't want to be in existence. I was depressed for a very, very long time. But I thank God for my family because, like I said, my mom was there every step of the way. And I know if my father was here, he would be also. I thank God for my sister. She came up a few months later and she actually spent time with me. My brother, he checked in on me daily. I thank God for my family. I really do. But yeah, this concludes episode 2 of the Mother's Day edition here. I hope you enjoyed it. I pray that you all have gotten something out of it. And if you want to leave comments, please do. God bless you and stay tuned for the next podcast episode.